Here I have an isolation transformer which is used for testing or working on live chassis TVs. So normally they're actually at a mains potential or half mains potential or something like that, somewhere between 100 and 200 volts or 240 volts potential on the chassis. If you touch it and touch ground, you'll basically shock yourself, or if you short the TV chassis to ground, so you hook up your oscilloscope and hook the earth wire on, which is earth to the case of the oscilloscope, that'll blow up the power supply, at least blow the fuse in it, possibly damage the chopper transistor and stuff. So before you work on a live chassis TV, to make it safe so you can actually handle it while the power's on, you can hook test equipment to it, you basically need an isolation transformer. It's just a 1-to-1 transformer, so the voltage in is the voltage out. Here in Australia obviously 240 volts, so this has a range of 230 to 240 in, up to 1.25 amps. So I think this was 300 watts, and yeah, 300 VA, and the output 240 again at the same current. So this one's made by Tortech Proprietary Limited, which I think it was actually possibly made in Australia, or was it just supplied? Not actually sure about that. Doesn't say where it was made, but I had a feeling it did say it was made here. So tortech.com.au if you want to look them up. I guess there's something there. I think this came from Radio Spares. Only problem is that very poorly packed and the thing got damaged. Came by courier and they're notorious for dropping things and stuff, and it was just in a cardboard box. I think it was one cardboard box inside another or something, and this had been dropped. I think there was actually blue paint on it, like it had hit a Shep pallet by the look of it. But I didn't actually worry about sending it back because I actually needed it, and all I really need to do is bend that back with some pliers. And it's only a bit of workshop test gear. Oh, there's the blue paint still on the corner. So that blue colour is usually Shep pallet. It could have been something else, but known couriers at all would have been bunged on pallets and slammed around by forklifts in the back of trucks and whatever. But anyway, that's a good enough fix for that. I didn't bother sending it back just for that little dent in it, even though I could have. I guess we probably could have a quick look inside the thing and see what it's actually made out of. In the old days we just used to pull a transformer out of the old Thorn TVs. Used to have an isolation transformer built in. The 3504 or 4KA chassis, which I think were made in Britain and imported into Australia, or may have been assembled here, but for some reason they had, not sure if they were live chassis, I can't remember. I think the 4KA might have had a live chassis type power supply, but we used to just salvage them out of them. But I got rid of my own one years ago. This is actually a toroidal transformer. Quite a beast of a thing it is too. You can get these in higher current ratings, but this should be high enough for what I want. Looks like it's got 120 degree C thermal fuse in it somewhere. And yeah, same ratings as it says on the outside. Just a couple of wires going in there. I've actually got an earth wire going into it as well. Active, neutral, and then just two black wires coming out, I guess to denote it's the secondary side. God knows what you do if the thermal fuse blows, whether you can find it and repair it, bypass it. Looks like there's a bit of a lump there. Could just be the wires going in, but that's probably the thermal fuse would be somewhere where the primary wires go in. It's got a little terminal block there for the mains cord. Fuse, I think this came with a spare fuse. God knows where I put it now, but I'm pretty sure it did actually have it's just a 2.5 amp slow blow on off switch. And the socket does look a little bit pushed in, but it's probably just the way they're made, probably not the greatest, or maybe someone screwed it up too tight. And just a label on the front, which is a little bit dodgy because it hasn't been stuck on properly. Pretty roughly done, to be honest. It's starting to peel up in places. And there's a big, I don't know if that's a scratch on it or it's folded. Yeah, maybe it got scratched a bit in transit as well, or else there's, yeah, I think it did by the look of it, so that's another problem. But anyway, but yeah, this label is peeling up in places, so it looks pretty crappy. So I wouldn't rate that too highly. Could definitely do with being, well, normally they would have screen printed onto the actual case, so that's a bit of a cheapo way to do that. But again, it is just a workshop piece of equipment, so it doesn't need to be too fancy, but it's a nice, good solid metal case on it. definitely good, well built, like thicker than you'd expect. That's a good solid, decent thick bit of steel there, which is appreciated. So it probably would have been a lot worse condition if it wasn't that, if it got dropped by the courier. I guess while I got that off I could bend that out a little bit better and even bang it from the back, but that's good enough. Probably shouldn't have done that with my pliers. I left a bit of a plier mark there, but I should have put a bit of plastic on there or something to protect it. But yeah, pretty solidly built. I mean, that's a nice big transformer. They haven't skimped on that by the look of it. And given this is the lower wattage, I think the smallest one you could get, I think we can rate it pretty good. Looks like a decent bit of gear, nice rubber feet on it. This one was, I think, about $200, including post. So not the cheapest thing on earth, but it is a proper transformer in it. And like I say, this box is very nicely made, not the usual flimsy, thin steel you see these days. This thing, you could drop it and you're more likely to break whatever you drop it on than damage it badly, which is good to see, especially when you've got a great big transformer in there and you don't want anything breaking loose or anything. It's got some nice ventilation slots on the side, but yeah, most TVs don't draw a lot of current, other than probably when the degaussing thermistor kicks in at the beginning. Cord looks to be decent enough. And it's got the new safety plug, of course. So yeah, I think that's a pretty good little transformer. That I have run a smaller TV with it, and not a problem at all. I think I did run a medium size, a 51 or something as well. Again, no problems at all. It's not humming or buzzing or getting hot or anything, so it's well within its ratings. But most TVs are well under 100 sort of watts. But this is a perfect little thing. So I sort of regretted chucking my old one out, but I haven't needed it for like 15 years, and now that I'm getting into a few of these things again, I decided to buy that. A lot neater looking and only about half the size of the one I had, which is, you know, they had a great big E-core kind of transformer, not a toroidal. Probably a bit lighter too, it still weighs quite a bit. But yeah, it's a lot neater than the one. We basically just used to use an old TV transformer, and we bent up our own boxes and just stuck a plug on the front and a cord in, and they did the job. But yeah, a lot bigger than this, and a fair bit heavier, I think, too. So this is quite a nice little compact one, sort of thing you can just poke in the corner of your bench somewhere, plug it into a power point. Whenever you need it, just hit the switch, plug your TV into that, and any live chassis stuff, perfectly safe. Then you can hook up your test gear and stuff without worrying you're going to blow something up. And yeah, I think that'll do the job well. Thanks for watching.